Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see about deep hypothermic circulatory arrest under the CPB simplified series. DHA is a technique which allows complete cessation of blood circulation and also preserving all organ function during that period for a safer duration of time. DHCA is most commonly used in complex surgeries where it is impossible to perfuse the brain through cerebral vessels using standard CPB cannulation. During DHCA, the patient body temperature is reduced in the range of 16 degrees centigrade to 20 degrees centigrade, which makes it possible to reduce metabolism to the point where the body tolerates total circulatory arrest for extended period of time without any level of cellular destruction. DHCA provides bloodless operating field to permit precise surgical repair of specific cardiac and non-cardiac abnormalities. It allows us to avoid usage of multiple cannulas which obstructs the operating field, especially on neonates and newborns. It enhances the myocardial preservation by reducing the non-coronary blood flow, and it reduces the blood trauma due to the shorter bypass time. DHCA is used in cardiac surgery for the following surgeries: aortic arch reconstruction surgery, pulmonary endarterectomy, repair of complex congenital cardiac anomalies, heavy aortic calcification, repair of thoracoabdominal aneurysm, aortic rupture, or aortic dissection. DHCA is used in neurovascular surgery on resection of complex cerebral arteriovenous malformations, complex gigantic cerebral aneurysm clipping, and surgery performed on head and neck vessels. It is used in vena cava surgery for hepatic and renal cell carcinoma with caval invasion and other tumors with caval invasion. Hypothermia is classified as mild, moderate, deep, and profound hypothermia. The adverse effects of hypothermia on cardiovascular system are arrhythmias, ventricular fibrillation, bradycardia, which can lead to asystole, increased plasma viscosity, vasoconstriction, impairing the microcirculation, increased SVR, and decreased cardiac output. And the effects of hypothermia on cerebral system are vasoconstriction during cooling, loss of autoregulation, ischemic brain injury. The adverse effects of hypothermia on respiratory system are lactic acidosis. Oxygen is essential for oxidative phosphorylation, and in the presence of ischemia, anaerobic metabolism happens and results in lactate production. Left shift of oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. This curve indicates that hemoglobin has an increased affinity for oxygen and results in increased reluctance to release oxygen, allowing less oxygen to be available to the tissues. The effects of hypothermia on gastrointestinal system are ileus, acute pancreatitis, gastric ulcers, hepatic dysfunction. The effects of hypothermia on renal and metabolic are reduced glomerular filtration rate, metabolic acidosis, hyperglycemia secondary to impaired glucose metabolism, effects on pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. Hypothermia causes pharmacokinetic parameters to alter, which results in impaired clearance, resulting in drug and metabolite accumulation. The effects of hypothermia on coagulation system are It activates the platelets, impaired coagulopathy, and thrombocytopenia. The CPB considerations prior to conducting a DHCA are: first, the blood bags for collection and storage of blood before CPB to maintain the desired hematocrit during DHCA, usage of centrifugal pump to reduce the hemolysis, adding hemofilter to concentrate blood and to remove inflammatory mediators, leukocyte deflated arterial filters if available, adding heparin bonded tubings if available, circuit modification to perform RCP or SACP, use of vasodilators to facilitate uniform cooling and rewarming. Now, we have to calculate the circulating hemoglobin and blood requirement or removal. If circulating hemoglobin is high, remove and collect the calculated blood from the patient in a blood bag, label it, and store it for retransfusion during rewarming phase. Maintain the hematocrit in the range of 21 to 24%. Avoid high or low hematocrit. You can use my perfusion calculator app to calculating circulating hemoglobin and blood requirement removal. The app link is provided in the description box. Conducting cooling. Cooling is initiated when CPB has been safely established. Maintain the temperature gradient between the perfusate and rectal or nasopharyngeal temperature to 8 to 10 degrees centigrade. Don't let the perfusate temperature go down below 16 degrees centigrade. Keep the temperature gradient between nasal and rectal temperature less than 5 degrees centigrade using vasodilators and isoflurane or sevoflurane for uniform cooling. Keep the patient's head packed with ice packs in order to facilitate cerebral preservation. Cooling period shouldn't be lesser than 20 minutes to reach the target temperature of 18 to 20 degrees centigrade. Don't allow the perfusate temperature to rise above 16 degrees centigrade prior to circulatory arrest. Rapid cooling of blood can cause blood sludging. Blood sludging is a condition where the blood is getting thicker and stickier than usual, which results in RBC getting deposited along the walls of the blood vessels, which reduces the lumen diameter of the vessels and the rate of blood flow through it. Blood flow rate. The metabolism decreases by 7% for every 1 degree centigrade decrease in temperature from 37 degrees centigrade. Blood flow rate has to be reduced according to the temperature. Along with that, reduce the FiO2 and blood sweep gas ratio also according to the BFR with the help of ABG. You can see the different cardiac index for various temperatures in the table. Acid-base management during DHCA. There are two methods for managing blood gas during hypothermia: alpha state management and pH state management. Alpha state management does not correct for pH and CO2 changes induced by hypothermia, which results in hypocarbia and alkalemia. In pH state management, PCO2 is corrected to the patient's actual temperature and that value is kept within the normal range. We can see about this alpha state and pH state management in detail in upcoming videos. Now, use either alpha state or pH state as per your institutional protocol. Glycemic control. Hyperglycemia can cause severe neurological injury during cerebral ischemia. Hyperglycemia is associated with the release of excitatory neurotransmitters within the brain, which is known to increase intracellular acidosis and delaying the recovery of normal metabolic hemostasis. Hyperglycemia can contribute to major morbidity and mortality in patients undergoing DHCA. So the clinical treatment for hyperglycemia during CPB, or you can use hypofiltration to do zero buff with a buffered 0.9% solution to maintain the normal range of glucose, which is 90 to 140 milligram. If hyperglycemia persists, insulin can be administered to control the glucose. Prior to total circulatory arrest, make sure you are administering the following neuroprotective drugs. Thiopental, which is a barbiturate which has a mechanism of reducing CMRO2, CBF, free fatty acids, free radicals, and cerebral edema. It also protects from focal ischemia. The dosages is 5 mg per kg. Methylprednisolone is a corticosteroid which has a mechanism of reducing pro-inflammatory responses. Dosages is 30 mg per kg. Mannitol, which is an osmotic diuretic which reduces the cerebral edema. It's a free radical scavenger, protecting the kidneys by lowering the renal vascular resistance, preserving tubular integrity, and reducing endothelial cell edema. Dosages are 0.25 to 0.5 grams per kg. Insulin can be used to control hyperglycemia, preventing intracellular acidosis. Adequate amount of muscle relaxants, volatile inhalation anesthetics should be administered prior to TCA. Ensure adequate anticoagulation prior to DHCA. After achieving the temperature, administer cardioplegia through antegrade or retrograde route after applying the aortic cross clamp. After delivering plegia, we can come off bypass. Leave the venous line unclamped until the venous drainage is ceased. Come off bypass and declare off bypass and note down the CPB time. Start the TCA time. Various authors recommended different safe duration period for TCA. It can be seen in this table. It differs from author to author. But universally, most of the centers follow this safe duration of TCA as shown in this table. Generally, TCA periods of up to 45 minutes is considered to be safe without causing any neurological injury. Even though the recommended safe duration of interrupting spinal cord perfusion at 18 degrees centigrade is higher than the safe duration of TCA as shown in this table, the cerebral metabolic rate of oxygen demand will be at 15% at 18 degrees centigrade. For each 1 degree centigrade decrease in patient temperature from 37 degrees centigrade, metabolism decreases by 7%. But even though the whole body metabolism comes down to near zero at 21 degrees centigrade, the cerebral metabolic rate of oxygen demand remains 15% at 16 degrees centigrade. You can see the CMRO2 as various temperatures in the table. So, exceeding the safe duration time of TCA, which is 45 minutes, can cause neurological damage. To meet the CMRO2 demand of the brain during TCA, SACP or RCP can be used. To prolong the safe duration of circulatory arrest and give extra protection to the brain during THCA, the following techniques are employed. Selective antegrade cerebral perfusion, which is a technique which allows us to perfuse the brain using the CPP circuit by direct cannulation of the axillary artery or aortic arch branch vessels. Retrograde cerebral perfusion is a technique to perfuse the brain through SVC cannula, which provides low cerebral blood flow and serves to maintain cerebral hypothermia during DHCA. Inform the TCA time to the surgeon every 5 minutes till it reaches the deadline for the target temperature achieved. If more time is required for surgical correction beyond TCA safe duration time, reinstitute CPB and cool down again to the desired temperature for minimum 15 to 20 minutes. Again, after achieving the temperature, reinitiate TCA. This technique is called as intermittent low perfusion. During the TCA period, the perfusate should be recirculated at 16 to 18 degrees centigrade. ABG is taken from the perfusate sample to assess electrolytes, pH, bicarbonate, base excess and glucose. You can correct it accordingly if required. Ultrafiltrate the perfusate to raise the hematocrit to 25% or higher. If hematocrit is not raising, you can add PRBCs to bring up the hematocrit. Neurological monitoring during TCA includes near infrared spectroscopy, jugular venous oxygen saturation, somatosensory evoked potentials, EEG, transcranial Doppler sonography. Just prior to the reinitiation of CPB, the ice packs should be removed, covering the patient's head. CPB is reinstituted and gradually refill the patient by slowly increasing the blood flow rate. Once the patient is filled adequately, the tubing clamp on the venous line can be removed and we can drain the venous line and go on full flows. CPB is reinstituted with the initial reperfusion of the brain at the original cold target temperature for approximately 10 minutes before beginning the rewarming process to avoid ischemic reperfusion injury. Make sure you are rewarming uniformly with the use of vasodilators. Rapid rewarming can cause microbubbles in the blood, so please try to avoid it. Maintain the temperature gradient of no greater than 4 degrees centigrade between the arterial outlet and venous inflow blood temperatures. Slowly rewarm at the rate of less than 0.5 degrees centigrade per 2 minutes. So it approximately takes 90 minutes if the patient is cooled down to 16 degrees centigrade to reach 36 degrees. Don't exceed the core temperature of 36.5 degrees centigrade. Maintain temperature gradient of 2 to 4 degrees centigrade between core and skin temperatures. During rewarming, keep the temperature gradient of 7 to 10 degrees centigrade between the perfusate and rectal or nasopharyngeal temperature, whichever is highest. It should not be exceeded at any cost. During the phase of reinitiation of CPB and rewarming, monitor the following: global tissue acidosis with the help of VBG and lactate, electrolyte imbalance from ABG results, adequate hematocrit to avoid acute kidney injury by using hemofilters to hemoconcentrated, or add PRBC to bring up the hematocrit. At any point of time, don't let the perfusate temperature to exceed 37 degrees centigrade. Once the heart is completely de-aired, aortic cross clamp can be released. Once the core temperature reaches 36.5 degrees centigrade and with stable heart rate and rhythm, we can initiate weaning off CPB process. Make sure good hemostasis is achieved, hemodynamics are stable with the appropriate inotropic supports, slowly fill and come off bypass. Hope this presentation will help you to understand the process of conducting DHCA. Thank you.